Cade, just obviously not a lot of new guys on the offensive line, just kind of who has stuck out to you and who are some guys we should know about?
Yeah, first and foremost, the guy in the center is Lyndon Cooper. I think he's really stuck out to me as, he's kind of came in, he was a captain at Pitt last year, and so he's really stepped up in a leadership role for us in the O-line room. So I'm really excited to play next to him all year. Another young guy is Micah DeBose from Alabama. I think, like, if you guys are going to have a young guy to look at, he's the one to look at. I think his ceiling is ridiculous, and he's figuring it out, and he will figure it out at some point. And when he does, it'll be pretty scary. So,
first impressions of the new number 2 out there?
I like him. Jared and I have gotten a little close since the time he was early enrolling and stuff. But I like Jared. He's a cool dude, and he fits in our locker room well. I think our locker room right now is like super tight. So all the freshmen really fit in really well. So.
What stands out about him on the field from what you're able to see?
Obviously he's got the arm sleeve. That's pretty cool. But no, he's physically he's a big dude. Can sling the ball. He's athletically blessed, obviously, and when that mental side of the game clicks, he'll be another scary dude. But really, I'm excited for everybody. I'm excited for all those freshmen because this is our first time really, other than the early enrollees that came in, for bowl prep. It's the first time they get to pop pads with some of those guys. So I'm excited to see everybody for sure.
During the spring season, what are you hoping you maybe take away during this next month for yourself personally and as the team as a whole?
Yeah, personally, I think a big word for me is consistency. Whether that's in my social life, but really in my football life. I think I was up and down a little bit last year. Towards the end of the year, I think I was playing some of my best football, and so hopefully I can keep that rising. But as a leader as well, I want to be consistent with that. I want to be able to people look and see the body language of me, and the O-line follow that. But yeah, I think the root of the improvement I want to do is consistency for sure, just all around.
How much of an adjustment, how much different is it playing in front of a guy like Diego, who makes a lot of things happen, make a lot of decisions, kind of keeps you guys probably on your toes a little bit more, as opposed to playing, with more of a pro-style quarterback like Jared, who is more straightforward with how he's going to approach the game. How does that change the way you guys approach it?
Yeah, one good thing about spring ball, I think, is there's a lot of different mixed opinions on it, but you really get to mesh with, the guys behind you and guys next to you. One thing with the quarterbacks as a whole is the Jared was here before we started spring ball and bowl prep, so he got to kind of see how Diego flows, see how Diego was running our offense. Blaze has been with Diego for 3 years, so we get to see that. Obviously, Jack and Witt have been there for 2 years, so they all get to do that. So it's really like one thing I think the quarterbacks like to say that they focus on is like everyone being uniform, and I think they do. They do a really good job of that, and that's a really big blessing as an offensive lineman to have consistency. There's the word again, consistency behind me. And, whether that's all 4 of them, I think, it's all the same. And I think Diego set a really high standard for us last year that we're looking to, beat him, obviously. So.
As we start spring, what's the mindset for the Union going forward?
Yeah, Coach K is a psycho. We love it. And I think dominating every play is his big thing. He wants us to wear everybody out. We're listening to the echo of the whistle, maybe the very last echo of the whistle. And so that's something that we're really focused on is just dominating, really meshing as a group because – like we talked about, we got a couple transfers in, a couple freshmen, so that's a really big role for us.
How did your role evolve last year, and how has it changed since the end of last year to now, if it has at all?
Yeah, I think my role last year is I was just trying to find my place really on the field because it was my first year starting and stuff. I think the guys that I had around me, which all props to them, they brought me along a lot because those guys had played a lot of football. I was kind of like the young pup, even though I was 21 years old. But that role has definitely changed. Now I feel like I kind of have the ability to pull some guys along with me. I obviously have so much room to grow and so much potential to get to, but I feel like now I'm able to pull some guys along. And that's something obviously I've had a goal for myself for a really long time, is to be someone that guys can look up to. Yeah. So maybe that's kind of how my role's changed a little bit.
What's the challenge for a freshman trying to command respect in a huddle?
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit of nerves. I don't know if we've seen much of that, honestly, with any of our freshmen on the entire roster, which is really cool to see, honestly. You're just getting comfortable. Everyone was like this as a freshman. You don't want to go in there and mess up. So once you get that out of your head, it'll be just fine. Especially with a quarterback, you just got to go out there and sling it, really. And if you know what you're doing, you'll be just fine.
I'm not saying I think this, but there is a perception out there that you guys lose Diego, you lose Eli, like you guys are done, it was a fluke. And Clark kind of addressed it, like, you guys are insistent on, you know, that's kind of a motivational factor for you guys, like, we're not a 1 or 2 man show.
Yeah.
What is the, I guess, the culture inside, what, you know, you guys are aware of that, but you probably compartmentalize it. What do you say to people who would say that to you?
I would say that Team 5 left a really high standard and a high, you know, bar and left their legacy for sure. And, you know, I was blessed enough to be a part of that team. I think Team 6 is focused on, you know, getting even better than that. You know, we were just as close to undefeated last year as, you know, we could have lost 3 or 4 more games and, you know, the tight games. And I think this year our goal is to go all the way and not lose a single one until next January. So, but like I said, man, Team 5 left a crazy legacy and a really high bar. And I think everybody on the roster right now knows that that bar is to be broken and the standard is, you know, to be met and exceeded.
What's it going to take for people, just perception of Vanderbilt, the name when it comes to athletics, to know that this is a real place where real things are happening? You know, people still kind of want to throw dirt on Vanderbilt's name, which is totally crazy. What is your message for those people?
You know, we have a saying, it's, you know, we don't listen to the external. You know, we focus on the internal, we tend the internal. But, you know, I follow in Diego's footsteps. I just say watch the tape, you know. I think we got the guys. We had a lot of rollover this year, and I think, you know, it's going to be really fun to watch that perception change. And obviously, I hope to see it myself, and I do think it'll happen. But you know, we really focus on what we think about it, what we think about ourselves, and you know, if that bar is high, then we saw it last year. If that bar is high, then you know, sky's the limit.